Hi. Here are the things that you're going to need for barrel chair style 2. This is more of your accent chair, your armchair. The first thing is some of this foam board. It has paper on the outside of it and a foam core to it. This is actually available at the dollar store. You've got some basswood here, embroidery thread that matches as close as possible to whatever fabric you're going to use for the upholstery. And then a piece of felt for kind of making that upholstery a little bit squishier. You'll need a quarter and a nickel. I know that's odd. And a few other assorted items for this, and your measuring and some tacky glue. And basically, I would start with forming the balsa wood. So this is a little bit bigger cut than you had if you made the first barrel chair. So this one is actually 3 centimeters tall, okay, or up and down. And remember, the grain has to go up and down on this because we're dealing with such a small item that, you would normally form this the other way around for strength. But with half scale, really we need to do this because otherwise it just won't go small enough. And I mean, at least it didn't for me. And this just, kind of naturally goes this way anyway. Okay, so back to what I was saying. This is actually 3 by 7.1. Now that 1 millimeter gives you a little bit of wiggle room if needed when you go to wrap this around. Okay. Now, I don't know if you've watched the other ones, but for soaking your balsa wood, I just found little containers like this, and then I put one on top of the other one to sort of keep it in the water. Soak that for about 30 minutes. It could be less if you've got a nice thin piece of balsa wood. But while that is soaking, let's go ahead and do a few other things. So you might be wondering, what's the deal with the change? So you can go ahead and use your nickel. And what you're actually doing here is, this is a swivel barrel chair. And so in real life, it has a base a circular base, and you would be able to sort of twist this. Now, in our miniatures, if you don't glue it down, it'll just automatically, you can twist it, right? And this is just happens to be the right size. The nickel happens to be the right size for that little swivel part. So you'll want to go ahead and cut that out, and then maybe give it a little bit of a sand. And then you probably want to paint or stain this because the sides will show. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, the next step is to grab your foam board and your quarter. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the quarter right here on the edge. Okay, and then go ahead and trace this around, and then take your ruler and just go straight down on both sides, and it should go without too much trouble, without you having to worry about anything. That is actually now what you'll cut out, and this is going to be the seat. There's 2 of these. You're going to do this twice, okay? And you're going to have now the seat, and then like the support that goes underneath the seat, because we're going to stack those, because this is a very this is a bigger chair, and it needs to have enough height in the middle. So we're going to cut 2 of these. Okay, I'm going to do that, and then I'll be right back here. Here we go. These are both cut. Now notice something. These are not perfect. That one in particular. Just make sure that the top one, the paper on the top is as nice and round as possible. But, cutting foam core doesn't it doesn't always look really nice, but this is going to have felt on top of it. That's not even going to show. And so it's no big deal. Now, you do need to make sure your fronts look good. And hopefully they did anyway, because you put your quarter toward the end of your foam board and just cut straight down, so you should be okay. So that's pretty good. I could maybe clean up this one. I don't know if you can tell. It kind of indents just a little bit. I could maybe do that, but it probably won't show. Okay, so this has been soaking a while, and I already tested it. You can tell because it's bent a little bit. But this time around, if you did the other barrel chair, this is a little different. I want to make sure and get any of that extra water out this time really well, because I'm not going to use a plastic form like I did last time. Okay. So I'm testing. Now, something I forgot actually to tell you before, but it's not a big deal because you can do it now, is I want to soften these corners. Okay, so I really should have already cut this, but I just want to come up in here, and you don't need a pattern for this, and I'm just coming on down, and basically I'm just softening this corner. I'm just sort of taking this off, okay, with a little bit of a angle on it. Now don't throw away this piece, because you're going to use it to cut that piece, and it'll be exactly the same. So I'm just softening this, and I can adjust it. It's no big deal. But what I'm doing is, like, you know, if you were really to be sitting in this, it's almost like you have arms on here, and it doesn't matter, you know, just trim that up. There's no need to sand it. Okay, then use this one for this side. Use it as your pattern, that way you get it the same way. And we're just gonna trim that up. So I'm gonna do, oops, I did not make that to where I could really see it, did I? Let's do this here. Okay. Get this good to go. Then I'll check it. I can check it this way too. Yeah. And just a little bit of trimming here just to soften that a little bit. I can always come back if I'm concerned about it and sand after this is dry, if that's, you know, not quite the way you wanted it. Okay, now this time, the reason I really wanted to get as much water out as possible without, you know, drying this completely, is that I'm actually going to use what I cut as my form, okay? And I'll start on one side, and then there will be some hanging out here. And the reason that that's hanging out is when we go to upholster this, it's going to add bulk, and so you're going to need this. And depending upon what fabric you use, you may need all of it, or you may need to trim a little bit on each side and make it smaller. Okay, so I forgot to tell you, you're going to need a rubber band. Sorry about that. And you want to do this pretty loosely, or, you know, you could put both of these in here, you know, to make it even sturdier, but it's not like the last one. I just want to kind of hold that, and it'll dry loosely like that, and it might bend out a little bit, but that's okay, because this is, you know, pretty forgiving after we blend it. It's not a big deal. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry nicely, and I'm gonna use this one as a as a pattern. So I'm going to set this aside, and then what we can do is cut our felt. And let me see here, Sharpie's pretty good for that. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces of felt, and that is like our nice seat, our comfortable seat. When I do that, then what I'm going to do, cut 2, I'll glue the bottom one on to here, and then I'll put a little bit of glue in between the layers, not too much because this will get all bumpy and, you know, lumpy and all that, and it'll show under the upholstery. So just enough to hold that to the other piece of felt, that's all. Okay, that's ready to go. Now we can upholster this top. So go ahead and kind of measure this way. Put this down face up, or it doesn't actually matter. And I just want to make sure I have enough fabric. I don't really need that much on there, that I can trim this and put it underneath. Don't leave it like this. Don't cut on the front. Okay, so in other words, what I'm going to do here to show you is I'm going to cut it. It's like a sandwich. And that's how I'm going to measure for it. So let's get this out of the way. My first step is actually to glue, well, let me, yeah, okay. I'm just trying to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. My first step is actually turn this upside down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue. I don't need to do, in fact, it's more of a hassle because I'll have to trim it later. I don't need to glue all the way up. What I'm doing here is about like so is perfectly fine. I don't really want to glue the front, but I need something to hold that in place while I upholster, because the thing is, you know, it's going to show if I glue across here, it'll show. So I've got this ready to go. Now I can trim off some of this excess. This is the edge, so about like so, and you're probably gonna have to trim it again, but that's okay. And we're gonna go around here. I'm just using my thumb to help guide me, holding the edge, so I kind of know, because I can't really see how I'm cutting that. So, to make the front nice, and make sure your felt is kind of up to the edge. Don't pull too tight. What I'm trying to do is camouflage that seam there. And if I don't pull that too tight, it will. Okay, so here's what we do. We put some glue here, a little bit, right up to the edge. And then I'm just going to push that down. And I'm gonna monitor the front. I want a nice, if I can get it, mine's not perfect here, but I want a nice straight line, if I can get that. And I might be able to use my fingernail. Okay. All right, I'm a little happier with that. Because then what I'm gonna do is just kind of like the end of a gift. And put some glue in here. I don't want to get it there. to help it, just in case this shows. The side really shouldn't show, but see, the front will, obviously. There we go. So the next thing that I can do here is I can just pull this from the back, this middle part, and go ahead and glue that. Now I can get glue here because that's definitely not going to show, and a little bit here. So in the middle and the back, and I want to make sure I have enough seam allowance. I cut it a little short on that one side. But there we go. And adjust as necessary. Okay. So I want to go ahead, that came up, and glue here, and then of course it gets round. It's going to go. Now it's not going to show a lot on top, but you are going to want to chip in a little bit. Be careful. Don't go all the way into your upholstered part. I'm chipping in just enough to ease this corner around so that when I get done kind of gluing this down, the top, just the top part, I'm going to try to hold that in place, will be nice and round. Okay, so you just go ahead and glue, keep going around there. And then I don't think that my chair is quite dry. Well, it's pretty close. So go ahead and do that, and then what we'll do is we'll start working on this. So once you have that done, if your balsa wood is dry or really, really close to dry, then it's okay to take this one out. Now, what I'm going to do here is the same thing that I did there, except there's no felt. Okay, so the exact same thing. I'm patching this little segment in here. I had started to upholster, but I forgot to tell you that what you want to do before you start to upholster this is go ahead and wrap this around this part and see if you need to trim the edges. So like in the case of mine, I could trim, see, a little bit in there, and I accidentally started to upholster before doing that, but I can still do it, and you could still do it as well. But I'm patching this in. Just understand that the next section I'm going to show you how to upholster this the back, but I forgot this part. You can go ahead and glue this on top when you're ready to go. Just make sure the front is nice and aligned. That's what I really want to make sure is good to go. If my glue isn't quite dry, I can make quite a few little adjustments to make this all nice. And then, maybe hold that down a sec. Then I can set that aside to dry. And let's go ahead and begin upholstering the back. I think this is dry now. So what we're going to do is just use this to make your your pattern. You can just go ahead and glue this on if you want, and then trim around the edges. That works fine. That's okay. What I would suggest is that you do the back first, because that's the easier side. And I'll explain in a minute why that is. Now you may want to use a paintbrush or, you know, your finger with this, and make sure that you put a thin coat all the way to those edges, okay? Then what you need to do is the inside. So what you don't want to lay this flat and glue it. You know, you don't want to stretch that out. You want it to have this curve in it. And once again, a thin, even coat. You got to cover all of that, especially on the inside. But you don't want the glue to come through. So a thin, even, cover the entire thing, and then you can glue this down. The reason that you're leaving this curved is because I want this to glue and then be able to be bent without getting wrinkles in it. So that being said, you have to make sure before you complete this, before we go to the next steps, that this inside is really dry, because what'll happen is we'll go to do this, this will be glued down and it'll get wrinkles. The next step is to get your embroidery thread ready to go. And what you can do is cut a nice long piece, and we're going to use these doubled up, in other words like this, because what we're doing is we're going to glue this to the edge to cover up that wood. And so just cut yourself a really long piece just in case, because you don't really want to stop in the middle of something and have to glue down that edge and kind of keep going from there, because the edge would then show. So if I can get this puppy to come apart, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna kind of check this. I didn't measure it for you, but I'm gonna go with that just because I'm afraid. So what happens here is I would start at the bottom. I already started putting glue on that. And what we're gonna do is double this. And it doesn't matter really where you start. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that loop. So these are like so, because it's easier to glue this end down. So I'm gonna do from the middle and the back. And all I wanna do is glue those side by side. So try to keep too much glue off the front. If you have a fabric where that's going to show, you really want to be careful about that. But get to both ends. And it does serve the purpose of also taking care of any fraying, if you had any fraying of your fabric. So I just will take this and keep going around until I get back there and just glue it down. So that's, and I want it, you know, I want to check the sides while I'm at it. Make sure all the wood is covered up, that the fabric edge looks nice. You can just pinch it like that, and that helps. So it's kind of what I want. I'm gonna go all the way around. After you get all your embroidery thread on there and at least mostly dry, then you can put your bottom on here and just make sure that it is sort of even with the front, or closer to the front than the back, so that it sort of shows, okay? Because that's the way that it is in real life. Then all that you have left is to glue this on, and you're going to need a generous amount of glue and a generous amount of patience. Go ahead and use your rubber band to hold that on there nice and firm, And I just kind of creased that. I'll want to adjust my embroidery thread. But basically, when you're finished, when that's dry, you're good to go. My embroidery thread's buckling a little bit there. That's not a big deal. I can go back and add a little bit of glue, but that's what you'll end up with. So thanks so much for watching, and please subscribe. Bye-bye.